So, David, I guess we'll start by talking about Christine Fréchette. This is something I think we spoke last week. This is not a surprise, the fact that she ended up beating Bernard Drinville. Does the margin of victory play any role here, do you think, or not?
Well, it does in the sense that 42% for Bernard Drinville is much more than was expected at the beginning of the race. And let's put things in perspective, though. Only 15,500 people voted on this. Bernard Drinville got about 6,500 votes, and Christine Fréchette became Premier of Quebec with 9,000 votes, approximately. So we're obviously not going to make a debate about what kind of democracy we're in, but that's the fact. So, I mean, it does send a message that within the party, and especially within the caucus, there is a divide. And the best proof of that is that right away after the results were announced, what did you see on social media? Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and Éric Duhem launching offensive to try to start courting disgruntled, voters and from the more nationalist identity wing of the CAQ. So I guess that's the best barometer we can read from the stronger showing from Bernard Drinville than expected.
So, beyond that, and I don't want to dwell on this, but beyond that, of course, there's so much fallout from this, right? What happens to some of those people who ran against her? What happens to someone like Simon Jolin Barrette, who threw his support behind Bernard Drinville? You've been in government before. This is not Christine Fréchette who can simply walk in, I guess, and clean house. Some of those people, whether they supported her or not, are going to have to be part of her team. How's this going to work out? How does this play out over the next couple of weeks?
Well, there's going to be a lot of negotiation, a lot of backroom horse trading here, because Christine Fréchette has said that she wants a smaller cabinet. She mentioned she wants 20, so that's a very small cabinet. And so right now, François Legault's cabinet is closer to 30. And so, and you're going to have to think that some people that have yet to announce they're not running again may decide to not run again. Who knows? Simon Jolin Barrette may decide to not run again. Now, Christine Fréchette said today that she will not scrap the Constitution, so that may keep Jolin Barrette on board. But who knows? There might be a few M&As or certain ministers that are going to decide that they've had enough. Because again, even with Fréchette's win, it's not like it's sunny skies ahead for the CAQ. It is still very, very far behind in the polls. Bernard Drinville's presidence has actually brought down the party. During this leadership race, support for the CAQ has gone down because of Bernard Drinville. And so right now, I think for Christine Fréchette, it's going to be more about, okay, yes, I'm going to keep Bernard Drinville in cabinet, but how is she going to control the agenda, Aaron? Tomorrow, apparently, she's going to make some announcements already, apparently on helping Quebecers with groceries, with price of food. There's also maybe an announcement on housing, maybe on the welcome tax. But even with that, you still have a problem, for example, in healthcare. You have still a deal to be negotiated with the specialists. You still have Drinville that is a staunch believer in the third link, which actually, has been hurting the CAQ for years now. What is she going to do? She said she would basically, scrap it, technically speaking. And so it could be very easy for her to lose control of the agenda. For example, if Bernard Drinville starts talking about immigration, again, that gets her off track. Because
but David, what purpose would that serve for someone like a Drinville? I mean, if they're going to bring a party together and it's about unity, that's the last thing you would expect from anybody, whether you lost this race or not, isn't it?
Agreed, but then what if you're looking beyond, and that's also something that you want to be thinking about. Are there people that will be trying to position themselves for after the October election. That's also something to think about. Simon-Jolin Barrette, when he decided not to run for the leadership, didn't say, I'll never run. He specifically said, not now. So was that a move to say, you know what, I'm going to stay on the sidelines, but because this is not the right time for me, but maybe after the election? Who knows? I agree with what you're saying. You want to show unity, but again, at the same time, if you're an M&A or a cabinet minister, or you're aspiring to become a cabinet minister, you also want to see what kind of future you're going to have, because yes, the campaign's in 5 months, Aaron, but in terms of real governing, you have basically until Saint-Jean-Baptiste to do anything of real impact. And that's very little time to turn things around. And Christine Fréchette right now, it's all about, okay, what am I going to be able to bring around me in terms of the cabinet? That's not until next week. And so, and there's still some major issues. I mean, just with the price of gas, and that's going to impact her maneuvering on money. She's going to announce, she has $250 million to spend right away from the budget. She's going to make a few announcements, but still, you're going to have a lot of people saying, okay, how does this help me today? And how do you shift away from the Constitution, from immigration, from identity, and show that you're really on the side of Quebecers' real concern?
All right, let me shift to federal politics, because obviously beyond what's going on in Quebec, this is going to be probably a very big day for the federal Liberals. We've all sort of, given them, the nod on those 2 seats in Ontario. Terrebonne will be a story on its own. But so you're Mark Carney. At the end of today, you will have a majority in government. I mentioned earlier when I talked to Jim, I said, I thought someone said something really interesting, which is the fact that, okay, let's say you form this majority, right? It's kind of a given. The last thing you want to do, and I use the word, is gloat, because people don't want to see that. So what's Mark Carney's reaction? How does he take this once he forms that majority government?
I totally agree with you. I think it's just one more important piece for him to get his agenda through. I think he's going to take it as, okay, Canadians, in Toronto and maybe in Terrebonne, we'll see. But now Canadians, and yes, there are floor crossers, but there are by-elections. But at the end of the day, Canadians, and the polls show this, week after week, month after month, are behind his agenda to shift, Canada's position, not only in the world, but Canada's economy and the way Canada's economy works. And so I think he's going to say, okay, it means, okay, let's continue the hard work. Now, there are a lot of advantages of having a majority government. First time, by the way, since 2019 that we'll have a majority government at work. Nothing in itself, but yes, there are risks, because then that means you have a bigger tent, and you can't blame the other parties for slowing your agenda down anymore. You can't say, oh, the Conservatives are doing that, or the NDP is doing this, or the Bloc is doing the other thing. And the bigger tent means that you could have their different factions. Now, so far, the more left-leaning progressive wing, like Stephen Guilbeault, Karina Gould, have not, have stayed inside the tent, even with the whole Marilyn Gladu situation. But that's going to be the key here. And the only thing that could derail this is at some point it's going to be less about Trump and the impact of the Trump tariffs and the impact of what is going on in the Middle East and Iran, but it's going to be about, okay, you've been telling us, you're working hard. Where are the dividends? Where are the dividends? Again, on affordability, on housing. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of the election of this government. The second year is going to have to be about results and starting to show results. It's not easy, but that's the only thing I think you're going to have to be mindful of. You can't ultimately always blame everything all the time on Trump.
Going to be an interesting next couple of days, couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And it's a great test for Terrebonne. Obviously, you're going to talk about this tomorrow, but Terrebonne, if the Liberals win, it's an amazing testament to what's going on right here in Quebec politics, and it has a lot of implications, not only federally, but provincially as well.
Agreed. David, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd.
And more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.